Hello everyone, welcome to this tutorial. In this video, I would like to introduce to you the SPSS software. Whenever you select or click on the SPSS icon in your list of programs, this is the page that will appear on your desktop or on your laptop screen. I'm using IBM SPSS Statistics version 22. You might have an earlier version or a very latest version, so it doesn't matter. Okay, so all you need to do is you select OK. You can just cancel. So once you cancel that, this is the SPSS page or the screen that appears on your computer, on your screen. And in this introduction, I'm going to briefly describe to you what are the elements or how does it look, what are the options that you have in the SPSS. And this is going to be a very brief introduction. If you notice that this page called the data view page looks similar to an Excel spreadsheet where you have a list of rows on the left and the different columns from moving towards your right. So, and all the columns are named as VAR or call var, or it actually stands for variable. And as usual as the other programs, you have the menu, the toolbars. Okay, you have the file, edit, the view. So in file, if you click on file, you are able to open a new data set. You can open a new syntax or open an existing data, open a database, read the text data. So there are a lot of options that you can select from file. So this is just like how you get started with whether your data is, or are you getting a new data set, or are you opening an existing data set. Okay, and the next one is edit. So edit is what similar to your Excel spreadsheet or in your Microsoft Word, where you can do an undo or redo. You can cut, copy, paste. All these are similar, or finding, all these are the similar functions that you find in your Excel spreadsheet or in your Microsoft Word. So they pretty much play the same function. Okay. Under view, you are able to look for information. You can search for variables, and from data onwards, data menu or option actually helps us to organize our data. So maybe you like to find out in your data set if there is any duplicate cases or the same cases are being repeated more than once. You can identify any unusual cases. Maybe this is like wrongly keyed in, or maybe it is a mistake. This data, this case, a lot of them are empty. So all these unusual cases can be detected. If you want to compare data sets, or you would like to restructure them, so maybe from a long format to a wide format. So if you want to change it, like you would like to transpose in Excel, those can be done using restructuring. So you can merge files. So if you have two different data sets, two different SPSS files, and then you would like to put them or merge them into one, you can do that. You can split the files, or you can select cases. So you have a lot of options under data, where a lot of these manipulations are to organize your data set. Under transform, you have options of like computing variables, recoding them, visual binding, create time series. So all these options pretty much explains how you can change your variables. So you have your raw variables, your raw data, your raw information, and then how can you transform them into a different variables or a different information. So in that case, you can create a new variable, for example. So you can compute them. Maybe you're adding 2 scores to get a new score. So in that case, you can use the compute variable. if you are recoding the information, maybe in the data, raw data, you collected an information which you coded as 0 and 1. Now you don't like 0 and 1, and now you are doing like a reverse coding. You say that all the zeros now should be 1 and all the ones should be 0. So in this case, you can recode into different variables, or you can recode them as the same variable. You're just changing them. So any changes, any transformation can be done through any of the options that is categorized under the transform menu. Analyze is an option to run different statistical analysis. If you notice, there are a lot of options. So you have a descriptive statistics, you can have options of running a frequency, a descriptive, explore, so or you're comparing means, you're doing a table, you are looking into a correlation, a regression. So a lot of options that you have, all the options that you have depending on what kind of analysis that you would like to run or administer in your data set. And if you would like to do or draw graphs, so you can go to legacy dialogs, you can select the type of graph that you would like to produce. So these are the regular information, regular icons that you will be using when you are running analysis or examining your data set. And the following row, if you notice, is just shortcuts. So this is just the open data document. Rather than going to file and opening, you can directly open from this open data icon. And if you notice, you can actually insert variables, you can split files. Split file was under data. So rather than split files here, you can directly go to this icon. And these are the value labels, use variable set. So there are a lot of options like weight cases. Here's the same option. So you have different, these are the shortcuts. Okay. And this page data view page is where you key in your data. So whenever you like to start keying in, the place that you like to start with, automatically the cells will be highlighted or will be colored in yellow. So you can just type in, and to move to your next cell, you can either use the arrow button, or arrow button will be moving towards which side you're picking. Are you going to moving to right? You can select the arrow to your right. Or if you're working on the same column, you can move using the down arrow, or by using the enter button. Okay, so it moves on. And once you key in any values, it will bring the changes to the variable view sheet. In this sheet, if you notice, there are also rows and columns, but each of the row actually represent each variable that you would like to create here on these data view columns. So these variable var 0001 is the first variable, and here you can actually give different names. In this variable page is a view page is where you describe about your variables. You give information about the variables. So here I like to write as variable ID. I'm going to label it as, I'm going to give a name as variable ID. Okay, it is you should not have space between the name. So it's better to have like one name or one word. There should not have like two words. Okay, for example, ID, and it is not advisable. It cannot really read if you write as ID respondent, because it says that variable name contains illegal characters. So it should be just one word, or if you have a long two words, you can just put a underscore, and then you can put it as respondent. So it is actually sensitive to the spacing. And the type is actually where you can describe what type of variable are you using. Is it using numbers, or are you using a scientific notation, or are you using a string? Are you giving a name to it? If that ID involves name, then we should use a string. Okay, and in this case I'm using a number. The width is actually it's about how the space that you would like to give for your name, for the ID. Since it's just a number, so always the default is 8. The space is just like 8 width, so that you have a space. How much space that you want to give for your variable? How much space? How many characters you actually need? So if you have a string variable, if you have a long names, then you can increase the width. So you can also decrease it. So remember, 8 is usually the default, so you don't really have to make any changes unless you're using a string variables. So decimal is how many decimal places that you would like to include. If you notice in my data view, it is again default. So I just wanted to put as 1, now it turned out to be 1.00. So if I don't want the decimal places, I can just remove them. So I put this decimal to 0. Always give your name a very short and concise name. Now, because it involves space, and you can, if you notice, it is a small space. So don't, if you are giving a long names, and it's really hard to read it. So in variable view, with the given name, you can actually explain or label, give description of what is this acronym ID underscore rep really means. So here I can specify it as, that means identification of my respondent. Okay, so now I know that ID respond means, oh, it is actually the identification. Okay, so you are labeling them. Values, it is again, if you are assigning values for gender, or you're assigning values in your variables, you would like to label the values, because sometimes your values could be, you're labeling a gender as 1 and 2, or some cases 0 and 1. So what does this 0 represent? What does this 1 represent? So this is the section that you can use to label them. Missing column is where you can assign value to the empty cells to indicate that they are missing, so that when you're running an analysis, you know that these information are missing. These cases are excluded. How many cases are excluded because of missingness? Okay. Columns and align, again, it is about the formatting, whether you want it to, how much space you want to give for your columns, what is the height of the column, and also the alignment. Do you want all the information to be centered, or you want them to be given at the left aligned, or you want it to be in the right aligned? So it is up to you. Measures is where you talk about the level of measurement. So are you using an interval ratio data variable, or are you using an ordinal variable, or is it just a nominal variable? So in my case, ID is just a nominal. I'm just going to use it's just a number. Like each of the numbers doesn't mean that number 10 is better than number 5, but I'm just assigning number 1 to a respondent 1. Okay, so I'm just going to leave it as nominal. So input is just the role, so you're just importing the information in. Okay, so this one, most of the time, is you manipulate the name, the type, the decimal, label, values, and missing. It's also the measures. Okay, once you're done with it, if you notice, there will be changes in your data view, and importantly, you need to save them. To save your data, always go to your file. Once you're done, you can save as, place that you would like to store your information. You can give a name to your data. So I'll say the data demo, and then if you notice, save as type.sav SPSS statistics, and you can just say save, and your data will be now named that data underscore demo. So with this, I'll end the tutorial for SPSS. Thank you.